Warning, this podcast, website, and associated social media accounts are intended for audiences of legal drinking age. We do not advocate overconsumption or the abuse of alcohol. Never drink and drive, drink responsibly. And please remember to always take what we say with a grain of salt. After all, we are just some dudes with some brews.
We started out by crawling out from under the thumb of the man. The lovers of God with dad bods, just trying to feed our fam. Go sit right there and grab a beer, you know just what to do. Throw it back, get hammered, and listen to Dudes and Brews. We've got new merchandise available, and this stuff is amazing. We've got a few awesome designs. We even have all new pint glasses and stickers. You know you want one of those glasses. I mean, you already drink a beer while watching the show anyway, so you might as well support the show and put your beer in one of our glasses. The link is in the description, so hit that link and pick up something from us today. Make sure that you use the code DUDES10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Again, that's DUDES, D-U-D-E-S, 10, the number 10, 10, at checkout to receive 10% off of your order. Now.
All right, we are here with Jeremy Roberts from your owner, founder, 903 Brewers here in Sherman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for having or for being on with us today.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So I guess before we get started into all the great beer you guys brew, why don't you kind of take us back? How'd you get started? What were your first beers like, and how did you kind of grow it to be the 903 that we know today?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to that, right? So a lot of people's stories are similar. Like starting a brewery, most people homebrewed, which my wife and I did. But when we got started, we own a financial coaching company, and so we traveled the country, met with our clients. And one thing that we always found ourselves was we didn't go to a bar; we went to a brewery. And what we always enjoyed was, like when we'd go to the brewery, they were in a rundown part of town in an old warehouse, and then really they revitalized the neighborhood. And so my wife and I, both being from Sherman, we thought, man, wouldn't it be really cool one day if somebody opened a brewery in Sherman and kind of did something like this? And so we thought, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we open a brewery? And so that was in 2010. And then in 2011, we really started taking it serious. And when I say take it serious, so this is A, can we even do this in Sherman? And B, where do we start, right? And so from doing that, we started working on our business plan. And what's funny is a couple years ago, I found my business plan. It was pretty comical. And I'll go into more of that. But so my business plan said, we're going to brew 4 beers year-round and maybe 2 seasonals.
Oh, things have changed.
And if you know anything about 2020, we brewed 100 different beers, right?
Whoa!
So
it's
pretty funny to read that business plan. But we opened the brewery in 2013. With work with the city of Sherman, we'd called down to City Hall and said, hey, can a brewery actually happen in Sherman? And they told us no. So immediately we called Denison. Can a brewery happen in Denison? And they said, yeah, absolutely. My mom was having lunch with Pam Howarth, who was my government teacher in high school, but she's a city councilwoman, and she basically said that, a brewery can happen in Sherman. I don't know why anybody would tell Jeremy that. So, being a Sherman boy, obviously my first choice would be to open a brewery in Sherman. And so we really started working with that and made that happen. And this area this room that we're in is our tap room. This is where we started out. This building's 10,000 square feet. Now that we've expanded into our production facility next door is almost 19,000 square feet. But we started right here. And the reason why they chose this location is because it was zoned heavy manufacturing, which means we didn't have to get approval through P&Z or any of that to open up a manufacturer of alcohol. This was the location. Awesome. So we didn't have a lot of choices. So we're like, sweet, we'll move in here.
Right.
And if you remember 2013, this part of Sherman that we're in was run down.
Yeah.
There was
a little bad side of town.
It was bad side of town, but it was like everybody that we talked to throughout the country, this is what part of town they started in or were still in.
Right.
And if you look at it now, you drive through here, there's townhomes all through there. We've really revitalized this part of Sherman. And so, we've kind of done our job. But we're only going to be at this location for hopefully another year and a half. and we're going to move to a much newer and larger facility. But, it's pretty cool because, 10, 11 years ago when we were traveling the country, we were hoping that somebody would do what we've done, and we've done it.
Right.
We've revitalized this part of town.
Yeah.
We've opened the brewery, and in next month we're going to get ready to celebrate 8 years. So it's been crazy. That's kind of where we started, and then just kind of bring it forward. It's where we're at today.
I actually lived 2 or 3 blocks away from here when you guys first opened up. So I know all about this side of town. I moved since then, growing my family. But yeah, I lived in a little duplex a couple blocks away, and I remember when you guys first got started.
It was rough. I remember whenever I was brewing late at night, people were, coming by, and, you could tell they were heavily on drugs.
Yeah.
Right. So we had to run them off and let them know, hey, man, this building ain't vacant, and you come around here again, we're not just going to call the cops. We're going to take care of it ourselves.
Yeah.
And we kind of ran them off, and so, about 4 years ago, this neighborhood really changed. Mm-hmm. And then now it's really changed for the better. And it's nice to see, especially, all these nice brand new duplexes that are popping up. And, those families come and hang out with us. And so it's neat what's really happened this part of Sherman.
Yeah. So where you're moving to, is it still going to be that old school building? Or?
Unfortunately, we outgrew the schoolhouse. We paid cash for it, over 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we knew it. About a year after that, and we tried to make it work. The big thing over there is parking. Those streets are very narrow. Yeah. Trucks getting in and out. We worked with the city of Sherman about, can you guys widen the street? Can you work with us to help us? And they weren't really interested in working with us. We love the schoolhouse because my grandparents went to school there. My papa, he lived 2 blocks from there, and their house is still there. And he's passed a long time ago, but their family's house is there, and I really want to do something with it. But unfortunately, we couldn't. And we, haven't really made it public or talk about it. But
right.
Early on this year, we actually sold that building, so we no longer even own it. And we tried to really make something work. I invested over $100,000 in just asbestos and soils report, water report, and then we actually had an architectural company come in and do all the architectural drawings for it. And then we had a guy out of Austin, Texas that came up and did the whole design for how we wanted everything to look.
Right.
And we paid for all that out of our pocket. And we really tried to figure a way to do it, and it just didn't work. But our growth, when we bought it 4 years ago, we were still brewing on a 7-barrel system, and we really didn't think we would need that much bigger. We were thinking just a 15-barrel, we just quickly realized that ain't going to cut it. And we currently have a 30-barrel brew house, and we just couldn't make what we're doing now work on that facility. And so it was unfortunate, but at the end of the day, we tried.
Yeah.
No.
So are you planning on keeping this facility open as well,
No.
or so you're closing this one altogether?
Yeah. We don't own this building. We lease it. And, as you can see, as you drive around this building, that, the landlord doesn't really care to take care of the property. And so we've spent a lot of money, a lot of our own money in both facilities to try to bring it up, to make it look good. And, our parking lot is pretty scary. And we pay for all the maintenance to be done, which we shouldn't.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, we're like, you know what? We need to build our own facility. And then that way we're not making a landlord rich. We just pay ourselves.
Right.
And so kind of control our own destiny. So that's what we've gotten planning. And we hope to have a big announcement sometime in June or July on that.
Awesome. Yeah,
that
can't
awesome.
wait.
That sounds awesome. So let's go back a little bit, because I saw recently you posted a picture online of your first, I want to say it was a fermenter.
Correct.
And you had bought some new tanks.
Yep.
Tell me the difference in size of those, because the picture does not do it justice, I don't think.
So, our original fermenters, people don't realize, because we brew so much beer, they don't realize that we started out, basically, we talk barrels. Like, so in the brewing industry, was it 31 gallons of beer is 1 barrel.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I always do is, especially when I give tours or talk to people, I talk in gallons, because most brewers speak in barrels, but gallons. So like when we first started brewing, we were brewing 55 gallons at a time.
Okay.
Really small system, too small. But we started small, and we grew as we made more money, and so our new tanks are 2,000 gallon tanks. So if you take from 55 gallons to 2,000 gallon fermenters. So every time we get a new fermenters in, I always like to take my original one, roll it up next to it, take a picture of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I want everybody, because we've got a lot of new people, not a lot of new people that follow us on social media. They don't realize how small we were. So I like to show them, hey, this is where we were 8 years ago, and this is where we are today. And, I tell everybody, we brew more beer every day by noon than we did our whole first year in business.
Yeah, wow. And 8 years, huh?
8 years.
Man, that's amazing.
But we started too small, right? But at the end of the day, Natalie and I didn't want to go to the bank and borrow, millions of dollars. We want to say, hey, can we make this work? And kind of our background as financial coaching is like, okay, how do we make money and take that money and reinvest it back into our brewery so it continues to grow and grow and grow?
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people, when they start a business, not just a brewery, but what they do is they go out and either A, get investors, or B, borrow a ton of money. Well, you got to pay that back.
Right.
And then you got to pay yourself. And so, for Natalie and I, it wasn't like we always laugh, like, how to make a small fortune in the brewing industry is you start with a large fortune, right? So, there is no get rich quick, but a brewery, if you're getting in it to get rich, it ain't going to happen. So it's definitely like we knew it going into it is understanding this is a long game that we're playing.
Right.
So you're going to have really good days and you're going to have really bad days. And 9 times out of 10, you can have more bad days than good.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like, man, this is a long game that we're playing, and we tell ourselves if we're having bad times, those don't last forever, and if you have good times, they don't last forever. And it's just how do you weather those storms?
Right.
And, my wife and I have been really good at that.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy.
You guys are like pioneers in this area. There's not a lot of craft beer when you guys first started. To be honest with you, myself, the very first craft beer I've ever had was from this brewery. I almost feel like you guys got me into craft beer to begin with, and now we do a craft beer podcast. Sure. But it was like your chosen one. I remember the Sasquatch at first was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I went from the domestic beers to that, but the chosen one, the Sugar on Top IPA,
Sugar on Top, yeah.
Those two really got me into craft beer.
Well, that's awesome because that. Like whenever we were working on our business plan, Sellerman's, before they started a brewery, that was pretty much the only place in town other than Buffalo Wild Wings that you could go to and get some type of craft beer on draft, right? And so, we all started out when people come in and they ask for a Coors Light. I've seen it at some other establishments, people laugh at them. And, you drink that water? And, and I may say that in my head. But
I'm like, I'm going to say it out loud.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to do is like, look, I drank Coors Light. I drank Miller Lite. I never liked Bud Light. But, I started there. Then, I had a Blue Moon. And then, I kind of worked my way up into, exploring and drinking other beers. But so whenever somebody comes in and they ask for a Coors Light or Miller Lite or Dos Equis, it's like, look, we're a brewery. We only carry our own beer.
Right.
However, this is something similar in style to it versus laughing at them.
Oh, yeah.
And so people, we train our staff to be that way too. And people say, hey, you know what? I really appreciate me not feeling like an idiot when I ask you a question. Well, same way as I know nothing about wine.
Right.
And I love smoking cigars, but I don't know what's the best cigar. So, I go and ask these questions, and I'm not embarrassed to ask those questions. So we try to do the same thing here. And, I think we really have developed and grown craft beer in North Texas, but it's part of our mission is to teach people there's more beer out there than just what you drink. And by doing that, hence why we brewed 100 different beers last year, right? Is we've expanded. So, for example, we after about 3 or 4 years in business, it was really cool. The person that came in that barely liked the chosen one was all of a sudden drinking our pecan porter and our Sasquatch.
Yep.
And that we've worked their way up. Well, that was me.
I
love stouts and porters.
Yeah.
Hence what I drink. I didn't drink that when I first got into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, we just educate our customers.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear that from you.
No, for sure. Yeah. So like the chosen one, I think is one of the ones that was a staple that I had for the longest time, and I've just enjoyed the different renditions that you guys have done. I will tell you though, there is a beer that you guys did. I think you only did one batch of it, and it frustrates me because I wish you would have done it again. I think it was a second batch of the Mythical Creature. You specifically used Azeka hops in it, and it gave it this tropical feel that I don't think I've had out of one of your IPAs since. That I'm like, damn it, why don't they go back to that?
Yeah. Well, our our first batch of a mythical creature was a brewer who's no longer here, and he brewed a really bad batch of it. It was a really bad batch, and we asked him, is this how you wanted it to taste? Because as brewers, we don't want to put, so like me as a brewery owner, unfortunately I don't get to brew anymore, but I'm part of the process of it. As I say, is this what you wanted it to taste like? Because if it is, I'm cool with it. But, we're getting calls from accounts and customers that were like, man, this beer's bad. And he goes, yeah, man, it's kind of the way an IPA comes. When it first comes out, it's super green, but it's gonna change in the next couple of weeks. Well, people don't want a 30-day-old IPA, right?
Right.
They want something super fresh. So I was like, are you sure? Because it was this brewer's recipe, and he said, yeah, I'm sure. I said, okay, man, if that's what you want, I'll back you. And then that beer never got better. It got worse. So we actually let him go. Because he didn't want to admit he made a mistake.
Yeah.
So Wilson, who's our brewer now and head of production, who is amazing. He's a talented brewer, and it's an honor to have him on my team. And we always joke we fight like brothers. But, he really is my brother, right? We're brothers from a different mother kind of relationship. But he redid that beer, and he used those hops, and it was phenomenal. But if everybody reads Untappd, and that rating was so bad, they were like, let's just kill it.
Oh,
and
wow.
we're not really known as an IPA brewery. And so, we kind of stay in our lane, pastry stouts, and then now fruited sours.
Yeah.
But we release, different IPAs throughout it. And I don't know if you've had the most recent batch of
all bitter.
Yeah, all
so
bitter.
I had the first one. I don't think I've had the blue.
Yeah,
can
it's green.
I think we've got a few cans left. We're sold out of draft, but have a few cans left, and we're getting ready to brew the next batch. I think next month. But it's one thing people come into our tap room. They're like, "You don't have any IPAs on draft?" We're like, no. Like, if you want one, go 25 minutes south. There's a brewery called Tups. They got a shit ton of them, right?
So,
yeah.
Go there.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that I do like about you guys, because I do feel like IPAs do get played out sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the hipster thing where everybody makes IPAs. I go to the beer store and I see 98% of the beers are IPAs, and I'm like, where's the variety? So I do like that you guys do something different with your stouts and your pastry stouts. So that actually brings me to another question here. So you guys have gotten you've collaborated with the community essentially to make these pastry stouts. Where did you guys come up with that idea?
So we meet together as a team, but a lot of it is I enjoy drinking and writing down. When you drink, I guess it depends on what type of person you are. You have happy people and people that get angry. I'm not an angry drunk. I'm a happy drunk. And so what I do is I'll sit on my back patio and I'll drink. And I'll smoke me a cigar, and then I'm writing down what I think would be good. And so, one of the things is that we've seen in other parts of the country, mainly Colorado and Oregon and California, where we're about 10 to 15 years in Texas behind those states, and they do a lot of collaborations. So, you're starting to see more collaborations with other breweries. So I had an idea of wow, if we do a strawberry cake cream ale, well, Mom's Bakery in Sherman does an amazing strawberry cake. So why not use that beer to brew it with, and then give them a shout out. At the same time, we introduce our customers to them, and then they can give us a shout out and introduce their customers to ours. So that's what we've done. We've done that with Mom's Bakery. We've done it with Momo's Donuts. We've done a couple with CJ's Coffee.
Yeah.
And so we like collaborating with local businesses because we want to support them, and we want them to support us. And so that's kind of how the concept came about is we don't have to just collab, with other breweries or brewers. We can collaborate with other businesses, and it's been kind of a neat thing to see how it's taken off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. So it's funny because you have to tell him about the strawberry cake and the Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, and it's still one of my favorites. And I actually just picked up some strawberry cake this last weekend for this purpose. But I like to do half and half Sasquatch and the Down with the Patriarchy strawberry. Because it just makes it like a strawberry stout.
Yeah.
And I don't think you guys have brewed the strawberry stout. You've done lots of stouts, but that's one of my faves.
Yeah, we I liked, if you remember coming to our tap room early on, as we brewed the Chosen One and Ruse Red. That's what we started, and people were like, how can you open a brewery and only have 2 beers? I'm like, shit, have you seen my system?
Yeah, right.
It's super small. I can't brew a bunch of different beers. I wish I could. And so then we mixed the two because customers were like, well, I'm kind of burnt out on the Chosen One. I'm burnt out on Ruse Red. So we would do half and half. And so that's kind of been the thing that we've always done,
right.
mixturing the beers. And I have done that. It is really good, and we've talked about actually doing that. The guys just packaged over the weekend, and it's amazing. It's our Sasquatch base, but we upped the ABV a little bit, so it's like 12.6. So Sasquatch is 10.3.
Yeah.
And then we added blueberries and maple syrup and coffee.
Oh, nice.
And so, like, I love going to eat at IHOP, and IHOP has amazing blueberry pancakes. And so, I get blueberry pancakes, maple syrup, and then I drink my coffee.
Right.
And that would be a badass beer, right?
Yeah.
And so we did that with Sasquatch. We just packaged that this last week, so I'll have to let you guys try some. But
Nice.
it tastes like breakfast.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I love doing fruit, mainly in our sours, but we have played with it in our stouts.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man, we actually I take that back. We did do a strawberry cake Sasquatch.
Oh, did you?
Yep, we did it.
It's probably for one of the birthday things, right?
A year and a half ago, because it distroed. We did 4-pack cans of it.
Oh, what? I missed that one.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. Because what we were doing at the time, we were doing because like for example, all of our pastry beers were in cream ales.
Right.
And so people were like, I'm not a cream ale. I like stouts. And I'm like, I feel you. I like stouts too. So we would do a cream ale version, and then 2 weeks later a stout version.
Yeah, like the cookies and cream
Yep.
one.
And
yeah,
then we did a cookies and cream ale and a cookies and cream stout. And
Yeah.
then we did a cinnamon roll cream ale and a cinnamon roll stout.
Yep.
And then we thought, well, let's not get married to the two. Like, we can do cream ales one way, and then we can do our stouts another. So we kind of nixed that plan, because a lot of times consumers were getting confused. They were like, why am I paying all this money for a 4-pack of your strawberry cake beer? I used to get it in a 6. We're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Well,
I can see that.
that's the stout version, and it's 10.5% versus the cream ale version, which was 5%.
Right.
And so we were like, let's just nix that all together. But no, we did one, and it was phenomenal.
Wow.
But since you don't have access to it, just keep doing what you're doing. Cream ale with
Right.
Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Basically same
you
thing.
guys used to sell the 12 packs, and then on the side of the
Yes.
box, it would have like mixing recipes. And I remember your board used to say like Almond Joy back way back. Like, it's bringing me back now of the different mixed beers that you guys had. I think the Almond Joy was the Sasquatch and the Chosen one together. Yeah,
It was a fun one to do. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I liked that idea.
Yeah.
It gave you the different options as well. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like you're getting an extra 4 beers with this 12-pack.
I miss that. We invested heavily in those. Matter of fact, I still got a ton of those boxes. But it was Milk and Honey, which was the beer that that really built the second part of the brewery.
Yep.
But that beer just didn't sell, so we had to kill it. It was
That's what
Whoa,
got me into
whoa.
Yeah.
stouts.
You're not doing that beer anymore? Oh my! So my favorite beer that you guys have ever done is the Wonderland of Milk and Honey.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
telling you.
that was a good one. But what happened is
So sad.
Milk and Honey was a golden stout. We brewed a ton of it, but in 2019 or was it 18? Yeah, 18 we saw sales start to dip. Okay. And so the way that our beers work is they're all based upon SKUs in stores. So if sales go down, our accounts say we no longer want it, or you're not going to keep a good placement with it. So if we don't keep a placement, then it goes to another brewery. So we said, okay, well, what we're going to do after 2018, we're going to take Milk and Honey out of production for 2019, bring it back early 2020, and hopefully people get excited because they haven't had it a year. We brought it back early 2020, so before the pandemic, did a huge launch, just gave away these really cool, they were glass, but old school milk-looking jugs.
Oh, I saw those.
Oh,
yeah.
And hyped it up and hyped it up with all of our accounts, and dude, sales were horrible. Just flopped. I mean, that beer sat on the shelf. And then, of course, 3 months later, COVID hit, but it sat on the shelf for a long time. But everybody was buying a ton of beer. So it wasn't like, beer sales were down. Like, our beer sales were through the roof. But Milk and Honey just didn't move. So we said, well, let's just kill Milk and Honey. And then, maybe in another, 2 years, 3 years, we'll come back and reevaluate it.
Yeah.
And then also our 903 Blonde was a part of that mix pack. And, 903
true.
Blonde sales fell way down. And so we pulled it. So we're like, man, we're stuck with all this. And we didn't want to brew them just for a mix pack, because that would be pointless. So unfortunately, we had to kill that. But we've talked about bringing it back with other beers. Mm-hmm. Tups does a pretty cool job of doing a mix pack and having, if you'll look on the side of the box, it's like mystery can, or they may now put stickers on it, but that kind of helps keep people go, oh, well, I want to buy that one because I want to try this other beer that they may have in that box. But, we're really good friends with Tups. Their marketing team, they do a great job of coming up with all of that. But us, we just couldn't make a mixed 12-pack work. And so we just kind of stuck with what we do and just doing 6 and 4 packs.
And did you, with the Land of Milk and Honey, is that one of the beers you invented? Like you brewed yourself early on?
Yep. Well, so we did it when we opened because, for example, it was, to go back what I was talking about earlier, is trying to get people from drinking lighter beers to darker beers.
Yeah.
So when there's a couple things that we've done. So like you can buy these cups. So like, most people want to look at their beer.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at this and you're used to drinking a Coors Light or Michelob Ultra, this is going to intimidate the hell out of you because automatically you're like, I don't like dark beers. And when someone asks me that, I'm like, have you ever had one? And they're like, yeah, I've had Guinness. It's not good. Yeah. I'm like, but Guinness is a good beer. It's a lighter beer. It's 4.5%. I mean, what do you not like about it? So then I'll ask them questions, and I'm like, well, what do you drink? And they'll say Michelob Ultra. Perfect. That's a light beer, right? Have you ever had a Bud Light? It's a light beer. Oh, Bud Light's horrible. Oh, my point.
Right.
Well, it's a light beer, but you don't like it, right? So how do you know? Maybe try other stouts. So you can actually get these cups, and they're black on the outside, black on the inside. And when you look down, you can't tell if that beer is a light beer. You can't tell if it's a dark beer. And so you do this whole thing where you try to get people to guess with you ask them, do you like this? If yes, what do you like about it? Is it the aroma? Is it the taste? Is it the mouthfeel? What flavors do you like about it?
Right.
If you don't like about it, well, then write down what you don't like about it, because unfortunately our eyes tell us what tastes good.
Yeah.
Your eyes don't taste shit, right?
Yeah, right.
Your tongue does, your palate does. So we become like freaked out by it. And same thing with food. If you'll branch out, you maybe realize, dang, I do like this. But our eyes tell us what we do and don't like. And so Milk and Honey, for example, it was a golden stout. So basically it was our Sasquatch recipe, but I pulled out a lot of the darker malts when I brewed it and just used a lot of the lighter malts, but then actually had some malt in it that kind of brought it that stout flavor. Sasquatch has a ton of lactose in it, so it was we added lactose to the stout. And then I added honey, right at the flame out. So right when we were done boiling, I added all that honey, which gave it a lot of sweetness.
Yeah.
And so when I told everybody, it was a golden stout, they're like, well, shit, maybe I do like stouts.
Right.
Well, let me try that stout.
Right.
And so the whole point was to work our customer up to it. It did its purpose.
It did. I'm a huge stout fan, and that was the first stout I'd ever would be willing to drink. And I never thought Guinness was even in that category. It's dark, but it is very low ABV, and Guinness is on another plane in itself. It doesn't taste like any other beers I've ever had.
Well, it's nitro, right? So the reason why people, ask me, are you going to make a nitro beer? And the reason why I don't is because I spend so much money on the malt and the grain that I use to make our beers. So that CO2 really enhances those flavors. It makes it more bubbly, more carbonation. It just really intensifies it. If you drink a beer on nitro, it almost makes the beer taste flat. So every day we try the beers in our during fermentation process. So I drink more flat beer than probably in a week than a customer will ever drink in their lifetime. I hate flat beer, right? So when you use nitro, it makes the beer a little bit creamier, but to me, and this is my personal opinion, it makes the beer taste flat. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so all this expensive ingredients that we've added to make this beer amazing, you're ruining it because you're not helping boost it. It's like whenever you cook, for example, if you don't use salt or pepper or seasoning, it's not going to taste good. It's bland. So to me, it's my personal opinion, nitrogen makes a beer taste that way. So
I'm with you.
That's why you'll never see us do that.
Yeah, it always makes me feel like I want to go run a 5K, just rehydrate myself. The nitrogen makes it taste it's kind of watery.
I never thought about it. I think maybe that's what I don't like about nitrogen beers because it tastes flat.
Yeah, it's a little too smooth.
Weird.
You want
I
that
don't
sting.
know.
So that's why, as I'm drinking this, I can taste it. There's that little bit of sharpness there, and it intensifies. It's like, man, you take, and this is what I tell people, eat chocolate chip cookies. Then eat chocolate chip cookies and sprinkle sea salt on the top of it. All of a sudden, you're like, damn, that cookie just got better.
Yeah.
And so that's what CO2 does to beer. It just intensifies it, brings out the flavor, and that's what we're trying to do.
Nice.
So, speaking of your stouts, you've gotten some awards through the Great American Beer Fest with your stouts. So the question that I have for you is are you? It sounds like you guys are looking to just get people into craft beer in general, but are you more? I would say. Do you measure your success more on national praise or what you get locally?
So anything you want praise. Right. And so, it's cool to win. We don't enter in competitions that are locally. For example, there's the Best Little Brew Fest in Texas, which great people, that they put it on and, they help raise money for a charity. But we don't enter in that competition just because it's based upon local.
Right.
And, too, it's not knocking it and say, well, we don't want to win an award in a local competition. It's just that, winning a medal doesn't help you sell a lot of beer. It just helps show that, hey, we can brew good beer. And so we're pretty picky about how many competitions that we enter. So there's really 3 that we enter in. One is the Great American Beer Festival. And basically I tell everybody it's like the Daytona 500. If you win the Daytona 500 as a NASCAR, driver, then you're pretty much in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Well, the Great American Beer Festival is the same thing for our industry. And so 2015, Sasquatch won a silver medal at the Great American Beer Festival. And then in 2018, Kilt Switch, which is our Scotch Ale, won a bronze medal.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody it's about damn near impossible to win once. To win twice, it's amazing. And I think there's probably 5 or 6 breweries in the DFW area that have won multiple times. One of the brewery that got me into craft beer and always has a special place in my heart is Rahr & Sons out of Fort Worth, and they've won tons of medals at the Great American Beer Festival. They brew really good 2-style quality beer. 903, we don't really go, does this to style? Does this help us win a medal at the Great American Beer Festival? We don't really look at it that way. If we do, awesome. The other competition is the U.S. Open Beer Championship, and we've medaled there the last 5 years. And Sasquatch actually won a gold medal there
awesome.
Through medaling at the Great American Beer Festival, medaling at the U.S. Open Beer Championship, and then on Sasquatch was at one point it was a 98 on rate beer when people are really heavily into rate beer. They took the top 10 stouts in America, and Sasquatch was rated number 6, and it was the only one on that sheet that was rated in Texas. So, a lot of breweries claim that they're the best stout in Texas, but if you take from the rate beer, U.S. Open Beer Championship, and the Great American Beer Festival, which during that time, those 3 had some weight to it.
For sure.
And Sasquatch to be the only stout in that category just proves that Sasquatch is the king of stouts in Texas.
Yeah.
And there's other breweries in Texas that brew amazing stouts, but based upon those 3, it's what really put 903 Brewers on the map, right?
Yeah.
And then the third competition that we enter in is the World Beer Cup. And it's kind of like the Olympics for breweries. So it's every other year do they have the World Beer Cup. Well, Great American Beer Festival is every year. And unfortunately, yet we haven't medaled there. So, we've entered in 3 times at the U.S. Open Beer at the World Beer Cup. So I believe it is, no, because they didn't have it last year. It was supposed to be last year, but because of COVID, they nixed it. So I think it's not this October, but next October we'll be able to enter in. It'll be our 4th time.
Nice.
So that's the one we haven't won, and we really want to win it just because it's the one we haven't won.
The trifecta, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that helps on the marketing side of it, but it's not what when we brew a beer, we're like, well, this medal. Because we've had beers, or I've had other breweries of beers that have been, have won a bunch of awards, but it sits on the shelf, it doesn't sell. Right?
Yeah, because there's a difference between those who are avid beer lovers and those who are just your casual beer purchaser.
Correct.
So, yeah, I could see how those who are avid beer lovers, they'll probably like something that's different, stands out. Even if it's similar to others, it stands out. It's much better than what they're used to. So, how do you guys decide what beers to take to these competitions?
Really, it's funny you say that because it's like what we have available. We always have Sasquatch available, but what's funny is the year that in 2018 Kilt Switch won a bronze medal. We weren't even going to enter it in that year. We were going to enter in our pecan porter, which is one of my favorite seasonals, but it wasn't ready at the time. So we're like, okay, what do we have? Let's send Kilt Switch. And here Kilt Switch wins a bronze medal, right?
And it was new at that time too, right? That was when you guys first brewed it.
Yeah, so we brewed it. We released it in April, and then so we had to send it off in August. So we've been sitting on it for a second.
We've
we take a
got
break
new
real quick?
merchandise available, and this stuff is amazing. We've got a few awesome designs. We even have all new pint glasses and stickers. You know, you want one of those glasses. I mean, you already drink a beer while watching the show anyway, so you might as well support the show and put your beer in one of our glasses. The link is in the description, so hit that link and pick up something from us today. Make sure that you use the code DUDES10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Again, that's DUDES, D-U-D-E-S, 10, the number 10, 10, at checkout to receive 10% off of your order. Now, back to the show.
All right, so I got a question for you here. So you've obviously done the Down with the Patriarchy series. You guys are now starting on your cereal series. Where do you get your inspiration from? Where does this come from? Is this from you, or does your brewer come up with all the stuff, or?
Well, Wilson, actually, our brewer, actually had the idea of the cereal series and called it a cerealist series.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, as brewers, we get so bored brewing the same thing. And that's the reason why we attract so many brewers want to come work for us, because if you brew in just IPAs or just Pilsners or lagers or stouts, after a while, you're like, I don't even want to drink my own beer. Sasquatch, I tell everybody, is like my first child. It is my baby. I love Sasquatch. But at the end of the day, there was a point where I think I went a year without drinking it. I was so burned out on Sasquatch.
Okay.
So that's what really inspired me to brew pastry stouts. And because it was like, I want to drink our stouts, but I've drank so much of it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then now, I go back and I drink a lot of it. But the cereal series is, Wilson's idea, and it was like, look, let's take our favorite cereals. Hence, we did a peanut butter crunch, and we did a Lucky Charms, we did a cinnamon toast crunch, and then we've done an oatmeal pie cream ale that we've got coming up. And so, it's not just cereals; it's like, what's our favorite foods to eat? Especially as kids. And how can we make a beer out of it? And what's really cool is the consumer really relates to it, because they're like, shit, I love peanut butter crunch, so I'm going to like this beer.
Yes.
Or I like an oatmeal cream pie, I'm going to love this beer.
Right.
Or I'm going to like, I love Lucky Charms. And so, we're just kind of making a play off that, having fun with it. Hence that we just released this last week, a milkshake and fries stout.
Yep.
So when Allie and I first started dating, we had no money. And, I was trying to impress her and trying to, to make her think I was cool. And so we went to Wendy's, and it was super cheap. You could get a French fries and you could get a Frosty. And we would take the French fries and dip them in the Frosty and eat it. If you've never done it, do it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what inspired us to do that stout, was it's a French fry milkshake stout. And we actually used soft serve ice cream to brew the beer, and then added a bunch of sea salt to really enhance that flavor and give it that saltiness. And so, we just have fun. We kind of helps us be creative in the creative juices. And, at the end of the day, you hope the customer likes it. And we've had some flops, but, we've had a lot of success with these kind of pastry style beers.
That milkshake one, I actually picked up a case of it, and I drank a couple of them last night, actually. And I was a huge fan, but it tastes different than your others. Usually your Sasquatch base, you can kind of taste it, but that soft serve really comes out. So I think what you guys do a good job at is not only does the consumer look at it and say, oh, I used to go to Wendy's and dip my fries in that, but then you taste it and it actually tastes just like it. It really did. It tasted salty and soft serve.
Well, good. Well, that we had some people come in and go, it doesn't taste like it at all, and I'm like, well,
You're
first of
crazy.
all, this is a beer, right? And so it's a stout. So there's a lot of chocolate that goes into it. But same thing when I was talking about cooking, you add salt, and that's why we like adding salt to beer, because it intensifies the flavor. And so that beer is almost 11%. It's 10.7% alcohol. So it's super sneaky. And you have a couple of them, man, you're going to be feeling pretty good. But that was one that I would like to do. I would like to give another run with that style flavor on a cream ale, because I think it would be even more like the Frosty if it was a cream ale. But at the same time, we thought with the chocolate from the stout of like a Sasquatch base, it would be perfect with it. I love it.
Yeah, I liked it.
I've drank a bunch of it, but at the same time, I would like to do a cream ale version of that one as well.
Yeah. So I don't know how you guys do it, because there's some beers, like there's one that we ended up trying was the chocolate donut stout. I said, oh, it's a chocolate donut. They're Sasquatch's chocolate. How is this going to be any different? I taste it, and I literally taste that chocolate glaze. I drink the strawberry cake. I taste that vanilla frosting. Now, I know you guys put the actual ingredient, like the actual donut or the cake, into the beer itself, but what else do you do to kind of intensify those flavors to make it really, when I taste it, I'm like, maybe my eyes are deceiving me because that's what it says it's supposed to be, but like, it tastes just like it. Damn, I don't understand it.
If you use real ingredients, you're going to get it, right? So like we use that as part of the brewing process. So you add it into the boil, so it absorbs all those flavors from the boil, right? But on the strawberry cake cream ale, we actually, if you look at it, like sometimes the beer will be dependent on the strawberries. Because we brewed that beer 4 different times, the strawberry cake cream ale, it's been pink, and it has been brown, and it has been clear. Well, what we also add to into the packaging tank is we actually add real strawberries and vanilla, because we really want to bring A, the aroma, and then B, that flavor. So we do the same thing on any of it. We're going to add more. If it's got fruit in it, we're going to add more fruit. One of the key ingredients in any dessert or donut is vanilla. So we use Madagascar vanilla beans, and they're super expensive, but it gives that good flavor that anything sweet. And so a lot of people, when they eat a cake or donut, they don't go, I taste vanilla.
Right.
But there's a lot of vanilla in those pastries. Yeah. And so to really bring that out, we put that in all those beers.
You do a really good job of bringing out those flavors, because they're very distinct.
Well, good. I'm glad, because I read some of the Untappd reviews, and I'm like, are these people smoking crack? Or are they drinking a different beer? I don't know, because it shouldn't taste like that. And maybe they just had a bad batch or having a bad experience. But majority of the Untappd reviews really kind of talk about that. It tastes like it. Well, damn, it should. It's on the ingredients. I mean, it's on the can.
Right.
So I know that the big thing that you guys are doing right now as well, you do these slushies. Okay, this is the first place that I had ever seen those. I've seen them sprinkled out throughout the market, but you guys have a large part of that. Where did you guys come up with that?
So Funky Buddha, which is a brewery in just south of Miami, or Fort Lauderdale, or north of Miami. Anyway, they're down in that area. They invited us out about 2.5 years ago to their Maple Bacon Porter release. And so they invited 40 breweries throughout the country, actually throughout the world, to come and be a part of this release and pour there. And we were next to a brewery called 450 North, and they had an hour-long line to try a 1-ounce sample pour.
Wow.
And so when you have a line, they were right next to us. So when you have a line right next to you, if you're somebody, you're like, shit, that line's so long, I'm not going to get in the line to the brewery next to it. I'm going to get in that line because that beer must be amazing.
Right.
And so people would say, man, they would trickle out and they would come to our booth. And we had 2 beers. We had barrel-aged Birthday Sasquatch and Birthday Sasquatch. And, which to me, both of those beers are amazing. And I was excited to bring those there. But no one gave a shit about those beers.
It's like the exact opposite of what was next door, it sounds like.
They wanted those fruited sours.
Yeah.
So I'm a businessman.
Right.
Yeah. How do I have that line? How do I have those people want my beer? And so we were drinking it, and I'll be honest. At first, it wasn't my jam. I didn't like it, and it could have been. I was a little butthurt because people were in their line and not mine. But then I came back and I talked to the team, and I was like, we need to brew a beer like that. And no one else in Texas was doing it. This was at the point where hazy IPAs were just taking off, and it's just not who we are. We've released some, but it's just not who we are. So I was like, let's do something different. And we released it. We were really excited about it. We released it Craft the Night Away, and no one gave a shit about it.
About the fruit beer?
Yeah, the slushies. No one cared about it.
Wow.
And it was because no one's had them before.
Yeah.
Right.
And, online we were getting beat up and trolls were attacking us. And that's not real beer. So the guys at 450 North were like, man, it took us about 6 to 12 months before customers were really like, this shit's good. So I told the team, I was like, hey, look, I know this is an expensive investment because each batch was about $10,000 in just fruit because we use a ton of it. Let's just keep doing it. Keep plugging away. And we're releasing 2 a month. And we noticed our tap room got a little busier. And then we kept doing it and got a little bit more busier. And then we kept doing it, got a little bit more busier. And then so now we're like, we release 2 every 2 weeks. And once a month, we do an actual distro slushy. So one leaves the brewery and it'll go hit accounts. And then, we just have saw that we became packed. and we became known. And we thought we'd be known for our stouts, but people still love our stouts, but it's the fruited slushies. So here's the thing on the fruited slushies is we have people that come to our brewery that were like, hey, I'm here with, so-and-so and so-and-so, and I don't drink beer. What do you have? Well, shit, it's a brewery.
Yeah, right.
So you don't say that to them. You're like, well, what do you drink? And they're like, well, like I like a margarita, I like a pina colada, I like this, I like a Bahama Mama, whatever. So we're like, well, hey, try this slushy. What's a slushy? And, it's a fruited sour. I've had sour beers. I don't like sour beers. Well, look, it's not a Jester King sour. This is a kettle sour. So it's not super just hit your palate. You're
Right,
like, what did I
right.
just put in my mouth? Try it. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. See, you do like beer. You just hadn't found a beer you liked. And then so we're like, we're really onto something because we're converting people who come in here. They don't mind paying $7 for a pint. They don't mind paying $23 for a 4-pack of beer because they love it.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done. And if you look at the big sign out on our production, it says the Slush Factory. So we looked at it and was like, hey, we're the Slush Factory. This is what we do. But we also produce other beers, right? And so we have fun with it. But it's been a game changer for us. And now we release it the 1st of April. Funny story on this was because we get people come in and they're like, hey, I can't drink beer because I'm gluten intolerant. Do you have a seltzer? And we're like, we've done it. We don't have any right now because we're not trying to get in the seltzer game. So I was like, I have an idea. Let's do a seltzer slushy.
Yeah.
We release it 1st of April. Well, usually we sell about 100 cases and just pre-sell online before the release. How many on the slushy seltzer do you think that we pre-sold? If we usually sell about 100 cases, how many do you think we pre-sold? Because seltzers are so popular.
They are.
Yeah.
So guess.
I mean, I'm thinking that you doubled that.
That's what I was going to say.
200
Double,
cases.
200, yeah.
0.
Oh,
We didn't
really?
sell one. You know why? Because it's the 1st of April. What's April 1st?
April Fool's
Okay.
Day.
Everybody thought it was a joke.
Really?
Because
Okay.
other breweries, which I'm not going to, I was so pissed off at them. I was like, quit lying to customers. They get it. It's April Fool's, but you're not releasing a beer. Why are you spending all this money? Like, nobody thinks it's funny.
Oh, what breweries really do, like say, like here's and they do something outlandish?
Well, for example, and it's not knocking them, but the guys at Armadillo Ale Works, they
Yeah,
said
yeah.
they did a wad of water, right? A wad of water.
Yeah,
they
I
didn't
saw that.
release one.
I saw that.
It was like a joke. Why spend all your money in marketing
Right.
on that? And it's not just them. Every
bunch of them did it.
business did a April Fool's joke. But me, I was releasing a new style beer on April 1st, and so I didn't sell any. Well, once people had it, we completely sold out the next week because people were like, oh, it's not a joke. That beer is amazing. So we're like, shit, we don't have any more seltzer. So immediately we did one more small batch, which a small batch is about 500 gallons. And we did one more small batch, and it's going to be a Bahama Mama. So the first one's a Pina Colada seltzer. The next one's a Bahama Mama seltzer. And it tastes just like the cocktail. So we really see the seltzer game for us not to be like these breweries that are trying to get 100-calorie seltzer out in the market.
Right.
Our slushy seltzer is like 330 calories. But there are people who just want to drink a seltzer, or they can't have a beer because they're gluten intolerant. They can have this. And so the 4 new 2,000-gallon tanks that we just got are going to be just for seltzer slushies.
Okay.
And we really see them going big on those because seltzers aren't going nowhere.
No, they're taking off.
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
but that's who we are. We just realized that slushy beers is what we've liked, and we've become well known, not just in the state of Texas, not just throughout the country, but through the world of our slushy beers.
Right.
Taver is our largest partner. And Taver,
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with those
Oh,
guys,
yeah, we're familiar.
They don't distribute to Sherman,
they don't distribute to Sherman.
but I've seen it.
yeah,
yeah.
we've wanted to get in on the Taver game.
But they're in 27 different states. But
Yeah.
they help get our beer direct
for
to
sure.
consumers in 27 different states, and has really helped
Nice.
us build a name. And then those people trade beer with other people throughout the part of the world. And it's cool looking at our Instagram how many people are following us in all these other countries, right? Here we are, just this little bitty brewery in Sherman, Texas.
Yeah.
That so many people throughout the world are now our fans.
Because they
Right.
tasted it.
Pretty
and then-
amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All
So-
from the slushies.
Yeah.
I like the way that you're doing things compared to others because all breweries have that same thing. How can we keep people here? How can we get people in that aren't really into beer? And they've gone the seltzer route. I'm glad that you went the slushy route instead, because there's just a part of me that says, "Come on, you got to drink a real beer."
Right.
And seltzer to me is just not a beer. So
Oh, he's been a hater on the seltzers.
But
100%,
But
I
see,
am.
But you're not. So I'm a businessman, right? So I tell everybody, we're a marketing company first, and we're
Yeah.
a brewery second, because at the end of the day, I can't pay my bills on love.
Oh, for sure.
my
I know.
passion. I got to pay my bills on what people want. So what I try to do is find something that you like, something you like, and you like, because at the end of the day, I just need people's money.
Right.
And if I can market to them and bring them here, and I can make them happy and give them a product they want, then they'll pay me.
Right.
And so, there was a saying, I can't remember the gentleman who said it, but he's, I'm big into motivational quotes and things, but he says, you can have everything in life that you want if you help get enough people what they want. So as me as a brand and a business, like I can have anything that I want. I just got to help enough people get what they want. So if you like seltzers, I'll get you a seltzer. You like slushies, if you like stouts, like just how can I give all these people what they want? And then if I give them all what they want, then I can have anything I want.
Right.
And it's just like I said, we're a marketing company first, and we're a brewery second.
Right. I got you.
So what makes the slushy a slushy and not a fruit beer?
So that's what we call it. Like that's our style, right? So when people get it, they're like, are we supposed to freeze it? What are we supposed to do? And like, well, that's what we call the name. That's our series.
Oh, okay. I got you.
It's a slushy series. So people can actually freeze the beer, but how you have to do it is you actually have to pop open the can and then set it in your freezer for 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And then when you take it out, you can pour it, and it's this nice frozen cocktail, right?
Nice.
But it's a beer. Here's what I don't like it. We go back to what we were talked about with nitro beers.
Yeah.
So nitro takes away all the flavor. So if you freeze a beer,
right, all
those expensive, those now when we add fruit to a beer, it's like $20,000 because our system's so much bigger. But that $20,000 I spent to make that fruit taste so flavorful and good, if you freeze it, it's gone because it's a frozen drink.
That makes sense.
So I don't encourage that, but if people ask or they send us a message on social media, they're like, how do I make it a slushie? Well, this is how you do it. But it's not a slushie. It's just what we call the series.
Yeah, it's a slushie.
It's our
series.
name.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
it's our
sense.
name.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I was always wondering. I'm like, I haven't seen I think there's another brewery I've seen that does something that they call a slushie, but I didn't really understand.
So you can buy a snow cone machine or a margarita machine, which we've done before, and it freezes it. You can make them out of the tap room, but again, it takes away all the flavor. It doesn't taste like anything. Because if for example, if we put our Dreamsicle, for example, which you're drinking. If we put Dreamsicle in a margarita machine, we poured it, you're like, holy shit, this is amazing. I love this. I'm buying a 4-pack. Well, it's not going to taste like that.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same.
So we don't want to make a customer think that what they're buying to take home is going to taste exactly. So we don't use those machines anymore.
That makes sense.
But they're really cool. And not saying we'll never do it again. It's just not what it's going to be like if you buy that 4-pack.
Right. I mean, you guys do a great job with your slushies. I've been up here on slushie release date, and you have a line, you have a case out here, and that case will be gone in no time. Mm-hmm. And that surprised me because I didn't know there was a huge market for it. And also, it is a little bit more expensive because the cost it takes to make it, but people are willing to pay it because it's that good.
Yeah, I was nervous about it, but we don't use fake flavoring. We actually use real adjuncts. Like I said, every batch is $20,000 and just the fruit. But for example, when we first started releasing slushies, we were doing 20 cases at a time. That's it. We made 20 cases of slushie. And then we're like, let's do 40 and 60, then 80, then 100, then 200. Now we're doing 500 cases of each release.
Yeah.
And, we used to, we thought it was really cool to put on social media, sold out. At the end of the day, it goes back to I'm a marketing company first, a brewery second. If you sold out, you left money on the table. So for us, we don't want to sell out that first week. We want to make sure that if you can't make it this release, or say, for example, you don't have the money, or you just missed the pre-sale,
right?
Hopefully you can come in next weekend and get it. And we try to make sure that we still have some back for the the customers that come in the next week, because we want people to come in and hang out in our tap room, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we've started producing more. Each batch we do a little more and a little more and a little more on the release.
Nice. What was the first one when you said you first got off the ground? Do you remember what it was?
I think we did a bunch of them out of the gate. I mean, we were just kind of playing with them. But the peach was the first kind of slushie that we did. We did a peach, white peach, and then we kind of changed the name because if you were like a peach, white peach slushie doesn't sound intriguing.
Yeah, it had stripes on the can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so now we do that peach, white peach actually tastes like a peach Bellini. So we do a peach Bellini is what it's called, and then that next one comes out I think in July.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of as we've grown and done them, because people are like, I've had this one before, I don't remember the name. We're like, well, it tastes a lot like this, and so now we've branded it and kind of come up with that.
Okay, cool.
And that kind of helps our design team when they're doing the cans, kind of what direction do we want to take this and where do we want to go?
Yeah.
And we have a little bit more fun with it.
Nice.
So it sounds like you're continuing to do larger and larger and larger batches of stuff. Obviously, that sells. So
Correct.
previously, you guys used to do small batches for like a bottle club of some kind. Are you guys still doing that bottle club, or
No, we've gotten away from the bottle club. We did it at first because it kind of seemed exclusive and cool. But then barrel-aged beer sales are down. They're down across the board. I mean, for example, a lot of breweries, not naming names, but you can see that, their barrel-aged beers, when they distro them, would sell out really quickly. I don't mind since they're owned by Anheuser-Busch, but, Goose Island, what was their barrel-aged release called? Their
I don't even know about it. Yeah.
Goose Island, they're out of Chicago.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that
But
beer. I didn't know they did a barrel age.
So they release it every year during Thanksgiving, and it's on that Black Friday, and it's a big release. Bourbon County is what they call it. And used to, like, Bourbon County sold out that day. All the stores got X amount of cases. They sold out. Well, shit, you can go to normal Kroger's and still see Bourbon County on the shelf year round.
yeah?
So the consumers now are buying hazy IPAs. They're willing to pay $20 a 4-pack for those. And they'll drink those within a few days, and then our fruited sours. And so if you look over here on our wall over there, we've got a lot of our barrel aged beers that we've released over the course of this year. So we're in May. We haven't sold out. For example, Barrel Aged Birthday Sasquatch is over there on that wall, and that is the best Barrel Aged Birthday Sasquatch we've ever released in the last 4 years. But people just don't buy barrel aged beers like they used to, and so we kind of did away from the bottle club. And so, now we want people to instead of be a part of the club, we want people to come in and be able to buy it anytime they want.
Got it. Yeah.
But what's funny is, though, if you go back and look at that, people who are part of it like that exclusiveness, like that I'm one of the only 50 that are part of this club. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to be bigger than just 50 people.
Oh,
Right.
for sure.
And I'm going to grow. But when we were this little small brewery, we really focused on that.
Right.
When we moved to our new facility, we may do some private kind of stuff, but not something that kind of weeds people out, because we want everybody to feel important.
Right. And I was here one day, and I guess the bottle club was here, and you were giving out like
Glasses.
they
and stuff,
no,
yeah.
they were all getting like shirts.
Oh, shirts,
like,
yeah.
like those mechanic
Oh,
style
yeah.
shirts. And I'm like, geez, where can I get one of those?
Yeah.
I want my
He
name
felt like he
embroidered
was
on a
out of the
shirt.
club. He
Yeah,
wanted
I
in.
was.
Yeah.
We did some
Man, I
fun
need
things.
to get inside that thing.
But at the same time too, like we were like, okay, that was fun. What else can we do?
Right.
But at the same time, like, man, just like small limited releases isn't what's going to help grow the brand.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
And so it's like big picture stuff. And so we were like, we're no longer a small brewery. How do we focus on that? At the same time, those people that were part of the bottle club were a lot of our regulars, and it's cool to see them out in the pub, outside of the brewery or here in the tap room wearing their shirts. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Because before that, only employees had their name on a shirt.
Right.
And so now here's all these random people that paid X amount of dollars to join a bottle club now have a shirt with their name on it. So that's pretty cool to look back at it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
It makes
it's-
sense for the time that you did it.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool.
Right. I know I'm one of those guys that says, hey, I would like to bring that back, but I understand from a marketing perspective, it just doesn't make sense financially. So
Yeah.
I get it. So gotta ask, out of the beers that you guys have, what is your favorite beer that you guys have ever brewed?
So I'm actually drinking one of them right now. We did this part of our bottle club, and it was Sasquatch aged in Jack Daniel whiskey barrels, and we added coffee and toasted coconut to it.
Yep.
So this one right here is one we just released, and it's a Sasquatch Reserve, which is 12.7%, and we oaked age it. So it means during fermentation we add oak spirals to it.
Okay.
And it's actually one of the hardest beers that we actually package, even more so than slushies. So way that we do a lot of coffee beers. And so the way that we do a coffee beer is once the beer is done fermenting, we transfer it over to our packaging tank. So our packaging tank is 2,000 gallons. Well, right next door to it, we have a smaller packaging tank, which is 500 gallons. And that tank is basically for adjuncts. So the first thing that we do is we get a bunch of shredded toasted coconut. We put them in these big cheesecloth bags. We pack that tank, that small 500-gallon tank, full of those bags of coconut. And you don't want to just put coconut in the tank, because if so, screw everything up. So you want it inside a container.
Right.
So for 72 hours, we recirc the beer from the 2,000-gallon tank through the 500-gallon tank back and forth. So all that beer is covering all the surface of that coconut.
Right.
And so it really pulls that sweet, creamy coconut flavor that we want. So once we've done that for 72 hours, which is 3 days, we take all that beer and we put it back into the 2,000-gallon packaging tank. We open that one vessel up. We get all those cheesecloth bags of toasted coconut out, which is a damn mess. We get it out. Then we take whole bean coffee. So not like grinded coffee, because we don't want it burnt. We want whole beans. And so what we want is we want to pull the caffeine, we want to pull the flavor of everything from the coffee. We put that back in there, just like we did the coconut and cheese bags, put that back in the 500-gallon packaging tank. And then for 48 hours, we're recircing the beer on the coffee. So basically, we're cold brewing the beer instead of with water, instead of the cold brewing the coffee instead of with water, with beer. And that pulls out all the flavor, the aroma, and it doesn't give it that bitterness. So, for example, CJ's Coffee in town. I love CJ's. If I'm out and about, I'm a coffee junkie. I'll drink Starbucks. But the thing I hate about Starbucks, it tastes burnt.
Right.
Roasted.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what gives Starbucks, they're known for.
Right.
I don't like that. So then have to add a lot of cream or sugar or whatever to balance that bitterness, that roasty flavor. So we use whole beans, and that really pulls those flavors. So what I'm drinking right now is we just released it. This is our Oak Age Coffee Coconut Sasquatch. The beer is phenomenal, but it is one of the hardest beers that we brew because, as you just heard, not only is there so much work in that's time consuming.
For sure.
And in the brewing industry, time is money, because that's
Right.
another beer we can't get into that tank. But that beer is phenomenal. If you haven't had it, suggest you try it.
Oh, I picked up. So I sent my wife up here Saturday, like I told you, and she grabbed a 4-pack of those. Which awesome that you guys got those in 4-packs. First of all, what made you guys do the 4-packs instead of like the tall bottles on those?
So cans are where we're at. Bottles take longer, because we have to manually bottle each one. Cans, we obviously have a canning line, and we were selling them as singles, and then customers just didn't want to buy a single.
Right.
So we kind of said, well, let's just go to 4-packs for that, and we charge the same price for those than we do our slushies.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if you look at because how much beer or how much grain is used to make a 12.5% stout, and then the oak that we add, the coffee that we add, the coconut we add, it's almost expensive as doing a slushie.
Oh, I can imagine.
So we just kind of charge the same price for it.
Right.
Yeah, it was good. It was super good. So I had her give me that, the milkshake, and then the strawberry, because I'm on vacation this week. So I was like, I need to load up before we head to Galveston, make sure we take some good beer with us.
You take some cerveza. I'll send some cerveza with you. Nothing better on a beach than cerveza and a lime.
Well, it's going to be raining, so.
Well,
but
nothing better
still.
sit on the patio.
Right.
Cerveza and a lime.
Right. We planned this trip ahead of time, but yeah, it would have been nice if we could have been out on the beach. But who knows? We might still.
So
Hopefully so.
I am glad that you did go. The bottle club, love the club, but the actual going from the bombers to the two beers, I like that better because I can drink them separately. I don't have to just finish the entire bottle at once.
So, unfortunately, we did away with the 2 cans in a box.
Oh, you did that again? Okay.
Yeah, the reason why is because the boxes became too expensive.
I can imagine.
And we weren't making no money on them.
Yeah, they're like
And
a work of art in
yeah,
themselves.
So like for me to put on the shelf.
It was cool because we advertised on there, drink one, trade one,
Yep.
Right.
or age one, right? So it was because for me, one of my favorite stouts that really got me into stouts was Oscar Blues 1050. And so every year I try to buy a case of it. And then at one point I had like an 8-year vertical of it because they date all the bottom of them. And it's neat to see, how that beer is aged, but also how the different brewers at Oscar Blues have changed those beers up. But that beer is like thick motor oil if you've ever had it. It's a super
Never
thick,
even
it's
heard
a
of it.
dark beer, and it is really good. Matter of fact, when we go to the Great American Beer Festival for, every year, that's the first brewery that we go and hit up, and it's just a little bit. It's about 40 minutes outside of Denver, but Oscar Blues is right there, and then Left Hand's right there.
Yeah.
Left Hand makes a lot of really good beers, and
Yeah,
so,
they're big.
and it's neat to see these breweries that are 20 years older than us. And they both started really small, and to see where they're at today. But for us, it's a part of how do we take what we've got and just kind of really expand upon it.
Yeah.
Right. So with I mean, obviously you guys are growing as each and every day. So like right now, I know how wide is your distribution? Is it only in Texas? I know it goes to Oklahoma. I know I've seen you do stuff at Choctaw.
So we're Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arizona, California, and Washington.
Wow.
Oh,
And then Tabor, they're in Seattle, Washington is where they're out of. And then they can take us to 27 different states. And so we are getting ready to launch in Colorado. And then we're getting ready to launch in Illinois. And so basically Tabor, who's a really good partner of ours, has distribution in these states. And then we've already have signed distribution in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. So when we open our new facility, we'll be able to do that. And then also we've also signed with an exporter, so they're going to be able to they're going to take our beer in Canada, Mexico, and all of Europe.
Wow.
So part of it is like we're not trying to do just Cerveza and Sherman Bach and be on every Walmart shelf in the entire world. We're focusing on small batch, heavily fruited sours, big time, or as far as like a reserve pastry stouts or stouts, and really focus on those areas, right? And that way people all over the world can have access to our small batch, beers versus just going back to what I talked about early on is my original business plan. 4 beers and maybe 2 seasonals.
Right.
Yeah.
My goal, especially when we move into the new facility, we'll probably be releasing well over 200 beers, every year.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because my brother, he lives in Nebraska, and he can't get it. So every time he comes here, he loads up. Or when I go up there, I always save a couple of every beer I buy to bring him some. So hopefully they'll get some in Nebraska soon. But it looks like it's coming around that area. So it's just a matter of time is what it sounds like.
It's a matter of time. And then, too, it's, a matter of because people, like, for example, they'll see, somebody in another part of the country tag our beer, and they're like, well, how come they can get it and I can't get it?
Right.
Because some of even our brewery-only releases, we don't release it locally. So it'll go to these other states. And I'm like, well, you can come to the tap room and get it. It's available here. And but at the same time, like we enjoy spreading our beer out because we like getting new people to drink 903 beer. And it just really goes back to like, I love what I'm doing. But to be able to keep doing what I love, I have to make money. And, Richard Branson, the guy that started out Virgin Records and Virgin Airlines and all this stuff, I heard him speak one time. And this was like the best business advice that I ever got, and I try to give it to everyone, is like, when you're in an airplane and that oxygen mask comes down, what's the first thing they tell you to do?
Put it on yourself first.
On yourself. Yeah. Don't try to help everybody else out. So too many times in business, the first thing they try to do is they try to say, well, we're going to give to all these charities, we're going to do all this. Well, look, you ain't going to be around very long. The first thing you need to do is focus on yourself. And so for us is like, look, if this is what our consumers want, we're going to brew those style of beers, because if we make more money and we can grow our brand and our business, then I can do more cool shit and I can be around for a long time.
Right.
So yes, it is about the money, because I promise you, when I had to go pay my electricity bill from February during that snowstorm, and it was $11,000. I couldn't say, well, I'm passionate about what I do. You don't give a shit.
Right.
Pay me my money, right?
Wow.
My landlord, I'm sorry, your restaurant was shut down for 4 weeks because the state made you do it.
Yeah.
I need to get paid, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about passion. We have to do what we do for money. So it goes back to the same thing. When that auction mask comes down, the first thing you got to do is you got to be selfish.
Right.
Right.
And you've got to pay yourself, and you've got to help yourself, because once you do that, then you can help so many other people. And I think that's what my wife and I have done a really good job of, like, helping our business sustain it. And a lot of people don't realize this. When we started 903 Brewers, after that first year, we sold everything that we owned, everything. And we moved in with my in-laws for 3 years.
Oh, man.
We didn't pay ourselves a dime, but we were putting it all back into our brewery. So, we were putting our oxygen mask on. We were putting all the money back into the brewery, growing the brewery.
Right.
Because if we didn't, and we're just paying ourselves, it's like putting everybody's oxygen mask on. It's not going to help.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, we reinvested in our business, which has paid off. It could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
I don't go to the casino and gamble. I gamble on myself. And because I feel like, not being cocky, I'm a pretty good winner. And but if you'll kind of hear our story and what I talked about, is I'm not being arrogant. I knew I'm playing a long game.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not going to win tomorrow. I'm going to win in 10 years. But I got to keep betting on that.
Yeah.
And if you do, and you believe in it, you'll win. And, one last thing that I always tell everybody, it was like, what makes a person successful is they're dumb enough to believe in their dreams, because guess what? Everything that you're doing, people can tell you you're dumb, it ain't going to work and whatever. Well, they don't believe in you. I don't have to sell you on my dreams. I just have to sell myself. And if I'm dumb enough to believe in my dreams, I'll be all right. And that's what'll make you successful.
Yeah. Did you ever think you were going to be distributing this many states? I mean, did you imagine that?
Part of me, because it goes back into, it is cool to see where 903 has gone and grown and where we're going. But at the same time, this is the competitive person in me. I'm like, damn it, I wish we were bigger.
Yeah.
I always wish we had a bigger tank. I always wish we were already in the new facility, because a person that's very content, happy where they're at,
right,
they've plateaued out. And me, I'm never satisfied. So that's the competitor in me. But there are a lot of times I sit back and I'm going, holy shit, we did it.
Wow.
But then the next day it's like, we're not where we need to be.
Yeah. Back on the grind.
Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been great to kind of hear the story and hear the passion that you have behind the business itself and the beer, because I know you keep talking about your job is to make money, but it sounds like there is some passion still left with the beer itself, because I can taste it.
Oh, yeah.
And I just really appreciate you coming on. It looks like people can go online to 903brewers.com. They can find your beer there. Will it tell them where
Shop903.com.
Oh, it's Shop903.
Well, Shop903.com shows what we have available in the tap room. We used to have a beer locator on our website at 903 Brewers, but we took that off because people would go there and it was already sold out. And they would send us messages like, it's not there. So we just took that locator off. But if you ever want to see what we have is, shop903.com. But, to kind of go back to it so it doesn't make it sound like, we're just doing what we do for the money. Look, I could do a lot of other things to make a shit ton more money.
Right.
I love what I do. But at the same time, for 903 Brewers to be around for a long time, we have to make money. We have to be a business. But, we are very passionate about it. It is a job. So there's a lot of work to it. But at the end of the day, we love what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I know we're on time, but are we still gonna play the game?
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
Are you down?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So,
All right, so your name? Mitch. So Mitch got us 4 different beers here. We're going to play a game. We call it Flight Fight. I always get it wrong.
Yep, Flight Fight.
Flight Fight.
Each round, we're going to go head-to-head to see who can name the actual beer that it is.
So we'll start with
and
the first
we're going
one.
against the man himself, Jeremy, who's probably going to kill us. Ooh, this one. All right. I think I know what that one is.
I don't know. I think I do too.
So we'll go first so that he doesn't sway us on our answers.
Yeah.
But I think this one is going to be the Cerveza Por Favor.
Yep. Yep,
Right?
exactly what it is. That's what I had earlier.
Got
so
the
yeah.
Cerveza coming in at 4. Is it 4%?
4%. Yeah. I would
All
say
right.
Cerveza as well.
Cerveza?
Mitch, how'd we do?
All right.
Or they
Got
did
the
good,
first one.
They did good.
You'd be surprised if we came
So-
in and said Sasquatch.
I will
The
say,
light Sasquatch.
I will say, I'm usually not a big fan of a Mexican lager. There's only been a handful of them out there that I actually enjoy, like the ones that are all over the place, that are mass distributed. I can't stand. I don't know
Yeah.
why. So I don't know what you guys do different to make it to where this one is more palatable. Because I actually enjoy this beer.
So
I don't mind it at all.
So it's a true style Mexican lager. So Natalie and I, we took our first vacation without kids 4 weeks ago to Mexico, and we were sitting there and they had all these Mexican beers, and of course if you've been to an all-inclusive resort, like shit, just get what you want because you don't like it, and it don't cost, you've already paid for it, right?
Yeah.
And so I love Modelo and I love Dos Equis, especially if you're in Mexico, man, you're on the beach, you're in the pool, you could drink them. And so what I was really trying to do with Cerveza is brew a beer that could sway those drinkers. Plus 4% light beer. It's I think it's five carbs, 105 calories. Like, it's a low ABV sessionable beer. And so I don't put limes in my beer, but a lot of people like it with a lime. We actually serve it with that unless someone requests, like me, no lime. But the thing is, when I was in Mexico, a lot of their Mexican lagers were sweet because you use like just different adjuncts to kind of give it that sweet, corny, like corn, that flavor. And there was a lot of the the Mexican lagers there I didn't like. What I like about ours is it's a little bit more like little bit more bitter. And especially you add the lime, it's like adding salt. It really intensifies the flavor, and some customers actually want like a salted brim with it. Yeah. But man, I mean, for a 4% lager, man, that's an all-day crusher. You're at the pool, at the lake, Galveston. That's what you want.
I don't mind it at all. So I got to ask you, all your cans typically will tell you what it pairs well with. Do you know what this one pairs well with?
I think it's been a while since I've looked, but I think it's like tacos, just something that goes with being on the beach in Mexico, right?
Okay, right.
And so the guys have a really good fun time with that.
So I actually took note. Let me see.
Did you?
I think I have that one marked down. I marked down a few of them because I was going to see if you would remember them. I didn't mark it down, but I think it's pool floaties, actually.
Pool floaties, yeah. Pool floaties.
I think it's pool floaties. I didn't have it, but I think it's pool floaties.
So do you come up with these, or is it like a collaborative effort?
Yeah, like usually whoever's doing the artwork on the can or the sales team kind of comes up with that.
Okay.
I'm not that creative, right?
Okay.
So they have fun with it.
Yeah, we actually had Kevin Couch on. He's a good friend of ours, so we had him on. He talked.
He's a hoot.
He talked from his perspective.
Yeah, he's a hoot.
Yeah, he is a hoot.
So number 2 here then.
Okay, I think I know what this one is too, but I don't see it on tap.
Yeah, I don't know that he did them all on tap though.
Oh, okay, they're not all on tap?
I don't think so.
They all are on tap.
Oh, they are
on tap.
Okay.
So, what are you tasting, Joe? I don't want to give you.
So at
he
first,
likes to piggyback off of me.
Well, at first, okay, no, it's fine. We can go back and forth on this one. So at first, I was thinking this is the Sherman Bach.
Yeah. Well, see, I was thinking it tastes like a Marzen, but since that's not on the thing, there's no Oktoberfest up there. I don't know. I feel like it is your spring October. Like, what is it called? The Spring Fest?
Yeah, the Spring Fest was what it's basically. So funny thing is we get a lot of our regulars that love our Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, you should release this year round. I'm like, I can't sell an Oktoberfest in November. So, we have to do something. So I was like, I came up with the idea of Spring Fest and releasing it during spring.
Yeah.
So is it the same beer then?
No, it same as Oktoberfest. Yeah,
it's
the same. But that we're completely out of Springfest, so I know that's not it.
We'll go with the Bach then.
The Bach?
It tastes like it though.
I'm a Sherman Bach. Yep.
Sherman Bach. Oh. Yep. Okay.
So the thing is Sherman Bach and Oktoberfest are pretty similar. So it's going to be the same grain bill, the same yeast, a little bit different hops, but the Sherman Bach is 7%, where Oktoberfest and Springfest are around 5%.
Okay.
So it's going to be a little bit lighter color, not as high ABV.
Yeah.
This is going to be a little bit sweeter, just because of all the residual sugars to up the ABV. But yeah, Sherman Bach, we got tired of people coming into the brewery and they're like, I'll take a Shiner.
Right.
We want to give that answer like, no, this is 903. But again, people don't think it's a bar. So
right.
So it's not to make them feel stupid. It's like, well, we don't have that. Well, what do you have like a Bach? And we're like, we don't have anything. So finally we decided, it was about 3 years ago, that we're going to brew a beer and call it Sherman Bach, and it's kind of poking at a Shiner.
Yeah.
But Shiner's around 4.5%. This is 7%, so we upped the ABV, a little sweeter, but at the same time, it's for a lot of people who like Shiner, love the Sherman Bach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And it's actually been a
this
really
one's
good seller for us.
This one's good. This is where I got started on craft beer, was with Shiner. That's the first thing I ever had, because I didn't like Lake Nectars. So I tried that one first, and there's not a lot of craft breweries that do box. There's only a handful of them here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So
When you go back
I
and
think
taste the
that's got it.
Shiner, though, you can definitely test the APV.
Oh, for sure.
Or ABV
For sure.
on this one. It's a lot different. You know, the other one does taste. It's not as usually now. Like when you think about craft beer, 5% is usually the minimum, unless it's a session ale, unless it
Right.
calls it
Right.
out. Your Cerveza doesn't call that out, but I mean, it's usually it's higher.
Yeah, usually
So
higher.
it's, like Shiner, now, if you go back and drink one, you're like, ooh, it's bitter, roasty. And,
Yeah.
you know,
It is.
And then, because ours is 7%, the residual sugars gives it a little bit more sweetness, which is the higher ABV. And, plus, man, you can get it at Albertsons for $9.99,
Right.
a 6-pack, or here in our tap room for $8.99, a 7% 6-pack all day long. You can't
Yeah.
go
for
wrong
sure.
with that.
For sure.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a good
a
one.
bargain shopper,
Yeah.
so
Good
I
one.
know all about it. Okay. Yeah.
Let me give you a hint, kind of help you out a little bit, or
No,
not
I
say
think-
nothing at all.
I think I know this one.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a Sasquatch of some kind.
Yeah. I'm just debating between, am I tasting those coconuts or not? Am I tasting coconuts or am I tasting?
I feel
the
like I'm
coconut?
tasting something barrel aged, but
No, I'm definitely tasting coconut. So I'm gonna go with that coffee coconut squatch.
yeah, I don't know why.
actually
My
ta-
mind was going to like a birthday Sasquatch, but I don't
No.
know if that. I can't tell if that's on tap. Maybe it is that coconut one. I'm not sure.
No, say birthday so that I can win.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's the coconut, huh?
It's the coconut?
This
Well,
is the one that you got in the cans, huh? It tastes.
Yeah,
it
so that's
tastes
what I was
really
drinking
good.
earlier, right?
Yeah, it's really
So-
good on draft.
So the thing is it's oat aged. So what's funny is our brewer Wilson. I said Wilson, and obviously I know there was no bourbon in it. Hence what you were picking up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was like, if you were to put that in front of me and you say this was a bourbon barrel aged beer, I would agree with you.
Yes, that's what I was getting.
So,
Yeah.
so there's oak. So we add the oak spirals, which gives it that oak flavor, and you taste it like it. So like think of like a red wine. You drink it, it dries your palate out. It's the oak from like the aging in those barrels,
Right.
Yeah.
the tannins. So when you add oak spirals into the beer, it has that effect to it. What's amazing is we put the oak spirals during fermentation. So it's not like it's aged for a year like most bourbon barrel beers. But then you add the coconut, and it gives it that sweetness, almost like vanilla. So in bourbon barrels and whiskey barrels, what you want is that oak, that vanilla that really pulls it out. So when you add that coconut, you get that like coconut cream is that sweetness, and then you add that coffee to it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was like, damn. I mean, I told him,
good.
I was like, man, Wilson, you knocked it out of the park on this one. And that's why I said earlier in the podcast, was like, that's one of the best beers we've ever fucking released.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, this one's damn good. The coffee doesn't come through as heavily as I was expecting.
And we don't want it to.
Yeah.
And so that's why we only research it for 48 hours. We don't
Right.
grind it up. We use whole beans because I don't want that bitterness, like that burnt coffee flavor from
Right.
Starbucks. I want that. I want the aroma to be there. And as this beer warms up, like this one's been sitting out, I can really smell that coffee and less coconut.
Right.
Yeah,
I have found that out.
That's what I've noticed is this one tastes a little different than the can, but I think the can was warmer when I had it.
And
than
so that's
this. Yeah.
that's what I like to do. It's tough, but you'll open it up and let it warm up and
Yeah.
breathe, just like you would wine. Like if they
Right.
pour it into a decanter. And so, man, that's the funnest thing about craft beer is go back to, we're not drinking a 30-pack and pounding them. We're pushing the envelope. What can this beer do if you let it sit out, let you warm it up? What flavors you're going to get?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what we love doing with our beers, and then explain it to our customers. But most people aren't going to drink warm beer. I mean, this is room temp beer right now.
Yeah.
So, but when you do that, you're going to pull aroma, mouthfeel, flavors, all going to be
Yeah.
different.
For sure. Yeah, I have seen that with coffee stouts. The aroma comes through a lot more the warmer it
Yeah,
gets.
this is really coconutty right now, and I think that's why it was throwing me off. And I was like, "Is that coconut?" Because I think it's so sweet at first, cold right out the tap. It
Yep.
kind of could put off a vanilla that was kind of
Yep.
throwing me off, but it's Now that it's just like with any blind tasting. As soon as you know what it is, like, oh yeah, how would I not smell that coconut now?
Yeah, because I thought it was.
good.
Yeah, I thought it was some vanilla. That's why.
You
I
gotta be
was
careful with
thinking.
that beer. It's super dangerous.
Oh yeah,
Super
yeah.
good. Yeah, I only had one when I had it. It was the only beer I had.
Oh, I like
All right,
that
so
one.
this is our lager
one's
that we
good.
got next, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this is like, it throws people off, especially whenever you pour them a beer, and people
Right.
come into the tap room and they're like, "What do you drink? That's not beer." And but again, we're pushing the envelope with beer. We're trying to get more people into craft beer that would make fun of or not drink the Cerveza or the Sherman Bock or a coffee stout. But
Right.
Mm.
So is this one going to be more difficult because of the different fruits?
Yeah. Oh, I know what this one is. That's
I don't
good
know
though.
what any of the slushies are
That's
called.
really good. And man, the first slushy, I guess the first full slushy I had was here today, and it was that
Dreamsicle.
that dreamsicle, and it was good.
So I'm not going to be able to tell you what the name of this beer is, but I'm going to try to.
What
figure
flavors
out the
are you
fruits.
tasting? Yeah, what
that's what I was going
fruits?
to say. And if I can figure out the fruits.
I mean, look at the color of it.
Yeah, I think I'm getting like a little bit of raspberry, a little tartness.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the berries. It's bringing me back to like being a kid and having like almost like a dreamsicle, but like a popsicle with these kind of berry tastes in it.
Yeah, it makes
That's
me
what it's
think
bringing
if
me
it's
back to.
that triple berry where they usually do like raspberry, blackberry, and like strawberry.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go with the.
That's what
I
I'm
only
thinking.
see the name Berry Beret, and I'm assuming that's it because I'm tasting all those berries.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but does it have those 3 berries in it? Black,
is this one the
raspberry.
Slush Factory? Yeah, the Slush,
Slush
Factory.
Factory.
And I don't remember what all is in the Slush Factory. You know what's all in it?
Threw the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah. So, basically that was like, as we were doing Slushy Fest, we came up with the name Slush Factory, and that's what's on the wall out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of people say, well, like some of your slushies, they're thinner and some of them are thicker. We prefer more the thickers. So usually when we do a release, we do a dark fruit and a light fruit. And because some people don't like darker and some people don't like lighter. So we kind of do the two, because when we do the 2 releases, so the darker fruits are going to tend to be more thicker. Stone fruit.
Strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, lactose.
Oh yeah, all the
So,
berries.
Okay, so I got okay.
Yeah,
all
there
right,
you
they're
go.
right,
Good
they're
job.
right.
Yeah.
And so back to this is you have the it's going to be a little bit thicker. Now the only fruit that's thicker than anything is the peach. Peach is super thick.
Okay.
And we've released a couple peach beers recently. One was the peach cobbler, and the other one was resting peach face. Resting peach face was peach, mango, and passion fruit.
Yes.
No, was it passion fruit? But peach cobbler was just straight all peach.
Okay.
Super thick. And you think about it, like peach doesn't have like a lot of flavor to it, so that's why we try to complement with other stuff.
Right.
The
Right.
peach, white peach, and then like the resting peach face has peach, mango, and passion fruit. But the peach cobbler was all peach, and then we added like a graham cracker crust, vanilla, and it really kind of intensified those flavors.
Nice.
Yes, yeah, I've heard people
Yeah.
use apricots instead of peaches because it has a stronger flavor than what
Mm-hmm.
peaches do. So, why use fruit puree versus just like actual fruit, like just diced fruit?
So
What does the puree do?
So what's nice about it is like as much fruit as we're using, going through like a company that makes all the puree themselves. A couple things they
okay.
do is, one, they get all the seeds, the skin, all that out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 2, it's already been pasteurized.
Oh,
And so-
it's pre-pasteurized.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
for us, like there's some of the, like we collaborated with a brewery in Colorado called Wiley Roots.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at first, they were doing all the fruit themselves. And then they realized, like, okay, A, we're getting bigger, and B, like, we're not getting a brew because we're just taking fruit and putting it in a processing, and then it just takes forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not really saving any money. So for us, time is money. And 2, then the fruit's already pasteurized. So
Okay.
it helps from secondary re-fermentation, cans exploding, on and on.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so we try to get stuff that's, from a good reputable company that's already pasteurized it. We've had some local farmers reach out and said, hey, we'd like to use get you to use our fruit. And we just were like, we would love to use y'all, but you're going to have to make it a puree, and then you're going to have to
Right.
pasteurize it. If you can't do that, I'm sorry. We just can't use it because our beer is not just sold out of our tap room. we're literally shipping our beers being shipped all across the country.
Right. Yeah.
And whether it's through a freight company that's picking it up, or through Taver who's shipping it, or through a customer that comes into our tap room and ships it to another customer, you and I both know it's not being shipped cold.
Yeah.
Right.
And these have to be shipped cold,
Yeah.
right?
Well, if you walk outside my office door, a brewery in California sent us a bunch of beer. I'm not going to name them. And this morning I walk in the office and I heard and the cans are starting to pop and explode.
Oh, no.
So we've been there, and so, what, you don't want that because those people are going to bash you online and they're never going to buy your beer again.
Right.
So after this podcast, we're going to make a phone call and tell them how to fix that issue so it doesn't happen, right? Because we've been there.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah,
crazy because you didn't start distributing the slushies originally; they were taproom only.
Right.
And then when you did, I'm on a few different like Facebook like craft beer groups, and I saw somebody post something about one of your slushies being in the store, but it wasn't in the cold section. And you're like, well, let me call those guys because that's going to explode if you don't watch out.
Right. So
like, okay.
Hopefully it doesn't, because we do proper things to keep it from doing it.
Right.
But at the same time, like, it's not fair to the consumer. It can make the beer go bad. Like my garage, we had, we bought the canning line from Real Ale, so our new canning line. So the Real Ale guys were up this weekend helping us get it up and going, and they came out to the house and watched the UFC fight Saturday night.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
And they're like, why do you have all this beer warm in your garage? And I said, well, because this is where I keep it, and every either 4 or 6 pack goes in my garage, and for when temperatures get hot and cold, because if they're going to explode, I want to know first.
Oh,
And
nice.
he goes,
yeah.
well, why don't you just throw it away? I'm like, well, I want to see how long it can go before it actually, if it does explode. I mean, I've got cans in my garage that are 3 years old that have never been cold except for packaging. And then if a customer calls me and says, hey, I got a bad beer, so we keep cases of every batch. So I'll take some home that goes in my garage, and then I'll take other cases that sit in our cold room, and we'll say, well, what flavors are you tasting? What happened? And then I'll try it out of my cold room, and then I'll try it out of a warm room.
Yeah.
And then we'll try to see, well, did you store the beer cold? Did you store the beer warm? On and on. And, if somebody reaches out to us on social media and says, I got a bad batch of beer, you can bet your ass I'm going to make it right. So it was like 2 years ago, a guy sent me a message online, and he said, man, I bought some Sasquatch. It wasn't good. It tastes like this and that. I didn't like it. I was like, well, man, hey, bring a guest, come to the brewery. I'll take care of your beers, and I'll send you home with a case of beer, because I wanted to keep him as a customer for life. Well, he brought his wife up, and he was up, and I was at the bar pouring beer, talking to him. Well, he gets up to go to the restroom, and his wife goes, that was really nice of you to do that for us. I was like, well, man, hey, look, we're a small business. We're growing. We want to take care of our customers. And she was like, well, I told him he was an idiot. And I was like, why'd you call him an idiot? She goes, well, he kept the beer in the back of his trunk and forgot about it. Then he goes and gets it, and he tries it. And it was in the middle of summer. Of course, it's not going to be good. And I'm like,
She outed him.
she did out it.
Yeah.
And of course, I said something to him, and he got mad at her. But I was just like, at the end of the day, are you going to buy milk?
Right.
And keep it in your car and then drink it, and then call Dairy Farms and say you sold me bad milk?
Right.
No, what does it say? Keep cold. On all of our cans, it says keep cold, drink fresh.
Yeah.
And if you don't treat it good, now we've had batches of beer before that we've kept cold, and we've done it, and then we packaged it. That's the hardest part of our job is like throughout the whole part of the process. The beer is amazing. We package it. It tastes great. It leaves the door, and in 2 weeks it changes.
Yeah.
It just happens, even if it's cold. Like, we're a small brewery. Shit happens. But, it doesn't mean we're a bad brewery or did something wrong. It just, the beer went bad for some reason.
Yeah.
We're going to make it right. And I don't get my feelings hurt if somebody says my beer sucks, because I'm going to find another beer you like.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just what we do, And I count a lot of that to our success is taking care of our customer.
Yeah.
And so, but we're gonna still do that, as small as we were, into where we're going. We're not going to change our culture.
Yeah, no, I like that. So again, thank you for letting us come here and coming on the show. The beers are great.
Yep. Thank you for the hospitality. Thank you for putting out 200 plus beers last year, because you helped me get through the pandemic.
I mean, I will
not
say
joking.
you must have done something when the pandemic started, because I remember taking a picture of like 10 different stouts. You must have done something crazy at the beginning of the year. Last year, we're putting out nothing but stouts, because I could have swore I had like 10 different 4-packs
Yep.
that I had to kind of I had to kind of pack up and get ready because I was going to have to stay home for a couple of weeks. So,
Well, that was the funny part is like if the pandemic would have hit us 3 years ago, we'd have been screwed. But we had already planned before COVID hit. We're going to release 100 different beers last year, and whenever it hit, we were like, well, this is it. We're done. We didn't know, but it sucked because bars and restaurants were closing or were closed, but people were still drinking. And so we were putting out so many beers that everybody's like, oh, I got to get this next 903, the next 903, to the next 903. And it just really, we were set up for COVID. We didn't realize it. Mm-hmm. And so from that, we're kind of carrying on to that of this year, 100 different beers last year, hopefully 125 this year. But man, we appreciate you guys and your supporting us this last year, helping us get through this. And look forward to many more. June, I don't know if this will be out by then, but June 5th is our 8-year anniversary party, and we're pretty pumped to be able to celebrate it because we didn't get to celebrate it 7 years.
So 7 and 8.
So I was going to say, are you going to do one of those things where it's 7 and 8?
Yeah, we were doing 7 and 8. Yeah, we were doing 7 and 8. And I think the glass actually says 7 and 8. But we were going to put F COVID on the glass. But you're like, man, hey, we're all over it. And
you got Wits In.
Wits In worked.
Wits In. But we're the past is the past. Let's focus on the future.
Right.
And hopefully none of us ever have to experience that in our lifetime again.
Right.
Make sure that everybody needs to follow 903. It's 903 Brewers on all social media. Shop 903 if you want to check out the beer. As well, you can get it through Tavour, however you say it.
Yeah, we pronounce it all. Tavour.
Tavour. You can get it throughout the country. You can follow us as well on Untappd and Instagram at _Dudes&Brews. But we're out.
New merchandise available, and this stuff is amazing. We've got a few awesome designs. We even have all new pint glasses and stickers. You want one of those glasses. I mean, you already drink a beer while watching the show anyway, so you might as well support the show and put your beer in one of our glasses. The link is in the description, so hit that link and pick up something from us today. Make sure that you use the code DUDES10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Again, that's DUDES, DUDES 10, the number 10, 10, at checkout to receive 10% off of your order.